Game Review.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is ASRock back from the winter break to bring you a new season of PC game reviews, and my mission to play and review every single racing title on Steam next brings us to Need for Speed Shift, which arrived on Steam in 2009 and still holds up quite well both visually and kind of gameplay wise. In terms of content, you're looking at a robust but poorly laid out career mode that will provide you with 10 rushed hours of content if you choose to blow through the races as quickly as possible, or up to 22 hours of content if you choose to play through every event in exhausting detail. Took me around 20 hours on the nose to hit the level 50 level cap, though I didn't quite get to see all of the content, as the career mode does have its share of issues. Inexplicably, I was unable to play an entire block of Works Series events despite owning every single Works car in that particular tier, with no explanation given by the game as to why I was being denied entrance. This clunky user interface and poor layout of the career mode is definitely a major drawback. The layout in particular, along with certain gameplay aspects, are rife with disjointed, puzzling design decisions. Despite seeking to be a racing sim with ascending tiers, the content is gated off via an outdated, arcane arcade star system, in which you are tasked with not only needing to secure a podium finish each and every event, a goal which is absurd in itself in a racing sim, but you must also complete several side objectives in order to earn your full complement of stars. Some of these make sense within the confines of a racing sim. Hold 75% of the racing line, complete a clean lap, beat a set lap time. Those are all perfectly reasonable side objectives. However, other required side objectives are completely bizarre and idiotic. For instance, you will often be required, tasked with, spinning out and wrecking 4 opponents in a given race. Think about that for a second, in perspective to how the game's narrative is supposed to play out. So you've been invited by Bugatti to race in a field of 12 drivers to showcase the magnificence of the Bugatti Veyron. Would they really be engaging you to go out of your way to destroy, not 4, but because you're wrecking them, you're also going to destroy your own vehicle? So 5 of their multi-million-dollar supercars, with the distinct possibility that you may kill another driver in an event with their brand etched on the marquee. That is as stupid an idea as a person could think up. And it's rendered even more appalling by the sheer impossibility of pulling it off, as the AI drivers are robotic in their scripting, and they will pull back to the center of the racing line without fail. And when you do manage to pull off the miracle, and you spin out an AI driver, the game rarely, if ever, acknowledges that you completed the task. It will instead reward you with points for trading paint or completing a dirty overtake. Another odd and overly convoluted aspect of this title. Content is gated off by a star system, but your overall performance is measured in points and badges, while wins net you money to buy vehicles that are gated off by tiers. So in typical EA fashion, everything feels overly designed, yet underdeveloped. I mean, everything functions well enough to keep you engaged and to push you forward in the gameplay loop. If you check Steam Spy, most people come close to completion, but the game would have undoubtedly been better if they had streamlined this and really focused on developing one particular system instead of multiple levels. And because of that, despite being perfectly serviceable, The career mode is just left in the dust and lapped several times over by the very titles EA sought to emulate with this game. And gameplay wise, I mean, there's not really a whole lot to say. It's a Need for Speed game. You should know what that means by now. For better or worse, it is Need for Speed. And that means that despite appearing to be a sim title, it is as arcade gets. The slightest turn of the wheel will send you full lock into a drift, which is tons of fun and makes for an easy, enjoyable, and carefree romp around still, quite frankly, aesthetically stunning tracks. But it's not a sim racer, and if you're looking for a sim racing experience, you're going to be drastically disappointed here. But if you're looking for a fun arcade experience, this is one of the last good, shining examples of Need for Speed, as the track design is great, the car design is great, and the arcade handling of the vehicles is extremely fun, despite not exactly being accurate to the game's sales pitch. And when it comes to performance and functionality, this game does have some minor little quirks here and there. Despite its age, you are likely to experience some pretty frequent frame drops. And, on some tracks, some fairly obnoxious pop-in. Though despite the frame rate and pop-in, it should be noted that unlike some of the newer, quite frankly, unplayable Need for Speed games, when the frame rate isn't going to hell, the game does maintain 60. Something else worth noting is that this is an older title, so if you're looking to play this with a controller, I used an Xbox One controller, there are no Xbox button prompts. All of the button prompts are just random button 8, button 12, which isn't really a big deal when competing in races because by now you know what buttons do what in a racing title. But it can be a major annoyance when dealing with the before mentioned clunky menu and interface. But with all of those things said, I don't mean to seem like I'm being overly critical of this game. It is a rock solid title that's going to provide you with a lot of bang for your buck. It's just, as somebody who really loves Need for Speed, it's yet another example of Need for Speed coming so close to greatness, but falling short due to the bizarre, one has to assume, corporate decisions that just cut the game off at its knees and hold it back from being as good as it could possibly be. So I always feel that while they're really fun, the Need for Speed games are always less than what they should be. And that's the case here. It's a fun game that could have been so much more, but it's still a fun game. So ultimately my verdict is a 7.8 out of 10. If you're a fan of arcade racing games, it's definitely something you should check out. It still holds up quite well and runs great on Windows 10.